So Chelsea, we saw a video over the weekend of she was sort of put on the spot by a young activist after she showed up at a vigil for the 50 people killed in Christchurch, and she was sort of put through the paces for her sort of co-signing of this absurd line of attack on Ilhan Omar for being anti-Semitic or et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And she maintained her impenetrable nice veneer of niceness for sure, but obviously but then there was just the Protect Chelsea brigade came down full force.
Yeah. And it really made it like the victim of Christchurch was this scion of America, an oligarch in America. But also, she could have put out a tweet saying, "Listen, this woman was in pain. Please don't go bullying her," because both her and her friend have received death threats and sexual assault threats and all that kind of shit. And Chelsea, and also they're saying Chelsea's not powerful. She's not an elected official. She's one of the most powerful non-elected officials in the country, in the world.
I mean, yeah, she's not powerful. She was at an interfaith dialogue because of her expertise on all the faiths and dialogue and all that. I mean, it does show the limits of people who claim to just interpret spaces and bodies all the time. That not just this woman who not just co-signed on Omar basically implied Omar wasn't American. Yeah, as an American, I find this distasteful. What she said to the initial Omar tweet. After the massacre of Muslims, to go there as some sort of expert, some fellow in interfaith dialogue, how wouldn't you fucking scream at her?
Yeah.
But the response,
the woman didn't scream at her either.
Right. No, she didn't. You're right.
They were having a dialogue.
They were having an interfaith dialogue. Yeah. That's what she signed up for. But my favorite response in all this has been that Chelsea's trying to help. I would love to sit one of these people down in an interrogation room and explain to me how Chelsea is helping. I would love to learn that. What possibly could she be doing that is helping anyone at all in the world? Is she's just showing up and sitting at a table and just spitting out the same fucking word salad she does every day about faith and dialogue and communities and blah 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 fucking just what? Who is getting anything out of this?
I mean, I think it should be reiterated again. It was only not that long ago that we saw a act of terrorism against the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, in which the shooter selected those people and his target because that synagogue was working with groups to resettle refugees here in America, refugees like Representative Ilhan Omar. And then this latest atrocity in New Zealand, they were targeted because they were immigrants and they were some of them were refugees and they were Muslim. And like that, and then so this is in the midst of up until what happened over the weekend in New Zealand. All the same people are just telling us that this anti-Semitism from the left is a big problem and it's getting worse. And it's just are they unaware of the ones who are actually walking into houses of worship and gunning down 50, 60 people?
Yeah, I did a quick comic of a Klansman saying, Linda Sarsour must denounce Farrakhan.
Did you see, was this a fellow cartoonist, Bill Bromhall in the New York Daily News had an editorial cartoon last week that was it was a line outside Ilhan Omar's office, and it was a Nazi officer, a KKK guy, and Louis Farrakhan, and the secretary was Representative Omar, your constituents are here.
Yeah.
And it's what I liked about that commercial is
Farrakhan lives in Minnesota,
but out of context, it could just
brothers and sisters, we are gathered on Lake Wobegon.
But outside of that context, you just looked at that image, you'd be like, oh, they're lining up outside her office to kill her. That's what's going on there. Totally. But the usual suspects are, of course, at full force to say, let's not take too seriously the politics or motivation of the shooter. But I kind of agree with that in that I don't want to waste any time parsing what's in his fucking manifesto or trying to suss out the different levels of like in jokes or like trolling, or they're like, oh, this is just these are just internet related mass murders. But like the point is, what the fucking ideology is. You know it because you see it every fucking day. It's just a matter of like how it's presented. You hear it in the mouths of politicians like Steve King, Louis Gohmert, and yes, our president Donald Trump. Yeah. You heard it in the posts of the guy who walked into a synagogue in Pittsburgh, and now this guy in New Zealand.
You saw it in Trump's reaction when the first thing he links to is Breitbart for breaking news. That's a fucking dog whistle right there, clearly. And in the same Breitbart that same day, he had been boasting about his fascist gangs, right? Bikers for Trump, they're going to kick everyone's ass.
Let me bring up that quote, actually, because this was stunning. He said this, like, I think 2 days or a day before this happened. He said, the left plays a tougher game. It's very funny. I actually think that the people on the right are tougher, but they don't play it tougher, okay? I can tell you I have the support of the police, the support of the military, the support of the bikers for Trump. I have the tough people, but they don't play it tough until they go to a certain point, and then it would be very bad, very bad. But the left plays it cuter and tougher, like with all that nonsense they do in Congress. So, I mean, terrifying that he is just sort of like, not so subtly, implying that that the police, military, and bikers for Trump will take matters into their own hands if democracy fails them.
Yeah.
But again, the bikers for Trump. We saw those guys.
Imagine how you'd feel if you were like a Ted Shackley character and you're paired up with a biker for Trump. Yeah, you're just like, how did this guy get promoted? It really hammered it home how Jacinda Ardern had to talk to him after this.
Oh man,
can you fucking imagine just like fucking dozens of your people just get fucking killed by a guy who like subscribes to the same like strain of like far like just neo-fascism that like the global empire is exporting, and then you have to get a phone call from just the fucking dawdling baby president who's just yelling at you about Bruce and Nellie Orr. And he's like, by the way, good luck to those who died. It fucking sucks. It's so much.
It's breathtaking. Like New Zealand is a country that probably had like 40 murders over the last decade in that country, and now they have 50 in one day. Carried out by a guy who, as Felix said, was a supporter of a neo-fascist ideology that is basically being brewed here in America, and of which President Trump is a vital figurehead for these people.
Yeah, then he calls you and he's complaining about like the Fox weekend lineup, and you can't hang up because he has all the nukes and military bases and can sabotage anyone's economy.
Yeah.
But you're just like, Nellie Orr is ugly as shit. You're right, sir. Oh my God.
BJ Kennedy made a great point, Mr. President.
Holy shit.
But like, Ellie, the interesting thing is like the people who are most furious at you, like I said, like the Ben Shapiro flunkies who say that this is like Joseph Goebbels, or I think Eli Lake said you do cartoons for anti-Semites because he's smart enough not to call you an anti-Semite, you personally.
I'm doing the work of anti-Semites for them.
You're
also minstrel. He's repeatedly called me a minstrel.
A minstrel and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
you're a Shabbos Jew.
But
Shabbos Mensch.
Very good.
They all hate Trump, or at least claim to.
Yeah, when push comes to shove.
Yeah, but when push comes to shove, like
he rolls down that hill.
So what is it like to be accused of hating Jews or being a self-hating Jew by people like Ben Shapiro or the Mandel brother, the brother and sister wife?
Who?
Beth and Seth. Beth and
it's
Beth and Sethany Mandel.
Sethany
Mandel. Yeah,
I like Sethany.
Yeah, I want to say about them, and I've said this repeatedly, and I'll keep saying it. 6 weeks after the Pittsburgh shooting, the most horrific pogrom in American Jewish history, they went to the White House Hanukkah party. They rejoiced. They took smiling selfies in front of the presidential seal when we should all have been out in the streets, and we should be out in the streets every fucking day, but especially while the bodies were still warm, essentially. And they're calling me a fucking anti-Semite. They should be. That's like excommunication material.
Wait, I thought they don't like Trump. They went to his fucking Hanukkah party.
Yeah, well, like the hors d'oeuvres must have been more than worth it for the fascism.
I doubt it.
She actually wrote a post in which she's bragging about the buffet. She took pictures of it.
God, these people can be bought so cheap.
What a fucking rube.
What a bunch of cheap dates.
Can if the PFLP was still kicking, if they could have just gone to Costco.
I could make a great Hanukkah meal.
No, you.
All right. We're talking about fake anti-Semitism versus real anti-Semitism. This is a violent threat to the Jewish people.
No, what's the food? It's like brownies.
Brownies.
Did you say brownies?
No, this motherfucker said brownies.
Oh my god! I love my classic
First, I'm going
Hanukkah.
to teach you something actually here. The Hanukkah meal is actually not supposed to be good or good tasting or enjoying. It's supposed to remind you of the hardships.
That's Passover, you fucking goy.
Oh wait, what's Hanukkah?
No, the oil, not the hardships, but the oil could last. So
it's the same. The Passover Seder. That's a bad one.
If it's like a fish fry.
I mean, I think those are included among some people. I think, I don't know. Wait, can we get back to anti-Semitism? I know Virgil's taking the floor there, but I just want to say that when people ask me like if it bothers me, I mean, it used to bother me somewhat, but now like when people are on the side of actual Nazis calling me an anti-Semite, it just becomes so absurd. It's like it just dirt off my shoulder because they have zero argument coming into this game, and so maybe they could have made some argument. And it was totally immaterial and unjustified 10 years ago, but now they are explicitly on the side of fascism. And it's preposterous.
Not just in America, but also in Israel too, and the Netanyahu government, which is becoming explicitly tied, like has reformed with like the Kahanist party to eke out another election,
and supporting European fascists as well,
and Viktor Orban and the likes of them.
Yeah.
So,
I also want to say, when Meghan McCain, everyone was like, they said it was such a silly, it's so absurd. This obvious Gentile scion in America accusing a Jewish cartoonist of anti-Semitism. I think it's people maybe that didn't know my work too well, but for me, it didn't even occur to me that was the absurd thing because I've been so used to being called anti-Semitic for years now, just for criticizing Israel's treatment of Palestinians, that when she did it, it was like, of course, because they consider her, and Bethany Mandel actually said, you're invited to Shabbos because of the cartoon idea.
You got a hood pass now.
Megan, you could say kike now. Oh yeah, I can start saying that. I don't know why the Jewish people are punishing her by sending her to the Mandel Shabbos, but
people like Bethany consider McCain more of a Jew than me.
Yeah. Well, did you see what David Frum said? How the McCain family would put on yellow stars in the case,
the apocryphal Danish.
The king of Denmark one.
Yeah, exactly. And then he published a thing about how immigrants shouldn't be allowed into America.
Yeah. No, it's you can't make it up, and why would you want to? Why would you want to think about anyone like this? I have to say, I was not really surprised by the amount of wagon circling around Chelsea, because it's like a lot of completely average people need to protect their jobs and upward momentum in their careers. Makes sense. They're well connected. But Meghan shocked me. Because first of all, what can Meghan do? I know she's on The View, but what can she do for any of them? It was just this, I'd say an even more mediocre person than Chelsea Clinton with even less abilities. And I had never seen, just the blood loyalty to her was incredible. For going on TV and crying the big girl tears, it was fucking unreal. I didn't feel like I was witnessing reality.
Yeah. You mean not what she did, but the rallying around her?
Yeah. I mean, Meghan McCain, these people used to fucking hate Meghan McCain because she wrote completely ineffectual blog posts that no one read that were like, I'm a Republican, but I don't think we should kill gay people. Like very courageous stuff. And they'd be like, hey, Mrs. Boobs, calm down. And now it's just like read Ben Shapiro's old blog post about her.
Yeah,
exactly that.
Tweets, I think they're still there.
Yeah. Or her husband's tweets for that matter. But
God,
just the it's insane. It's the siege mentality, I guess. But like, holy shit.
No, but as we said leading off the show, I mean, the victims of these terrorist atrocities are, of course, the people in the media who get made fun of for their, idiotic appropriation or comments on, these things.
Also,
either before or after it.
You could just see the dehumanization of Muslim life clearly in the reaction to the Chelsea thing at NYU. Because, I mean, the only comparison that is that occurs, the main comparison that occurs to me is it'd be like, a day after the Pittsburgh shooting, and I'm forced to sit with somebody who's in the Republican Party, who's been, dog whistling this Soros caravan bullshit. I would have yelled at them, of course. And I think because Jews in America have been normalized into the country more so obviously than Muslims have. I don't think I think there would have been sensitivity towards my rage. And this woman, this college student at NYU, it wasn't even rage. It was just like it was tears. It was emotion. It was so raw. Her emotions.
She was angry for sure.
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah. But I mean, it was also like it was rage born of mourning and like the immediacy of the tragedy, And for people to be telling her that she needs to find a better way of communicating these things when she's in the middle of grieving this atrocity, it's just like, it just shows that it's just such a devaluing of Muslim life, in my view.
Yeah, a lot of the response to it was from volunteer RAs. Talking about how she's going to get written up by the provost.
Or like she's not. There was a lot of snitching, trying to get her in trouble with NYU for like not comporting to NYU's like student handbook of behavior or whatever. Yeah, really, really gross.
Yeah, that's fucked.
I saw people dig up tweets from when she was like 14. Using bad words to talk about Drake, which is compare what she's doing to what Chelsea was doing at the same age. Protesting for the Iraq War.
Yeah, I thought that was apocryphal, but apparently it's true. She actually, I can't believe that.
When she was at, was it like Oxford?
Oxford.
Yeah.
Rhodes
Another thing she achieved by her own merit, by the way.
That was amazing. One guy was defending Chelsea and said, she got into, these 4 elite universities. She's sat on 5 boards. You think that wasn't from her own merit?
Someone really said that sentence.
Yeah, that's like why you shouldn't really argue with those people. That's just being insane. I'm not kidding. That's just insanity if you think that.
Well, that's just being a sucker.
No, I think that just you literally look at Chelsea Clinton and look at the fucking pablum she said her entire life and her green pancakes, and you're like, yeah, no, everyone just noticed a smart woman and didn't see her last name till later.
You remember when NBC hired her? I think it was NBC hired her to be like a correspondent, and it was like the contract was something insane, like $750,000, and she did like 2 on-screen appearances throughout the entire 2016 election.
Didn't they do it with a Bush kid too?
The Bush kid did way more actual work than Chelsea did, I think.
Why do these networks they hire every failed daughter? I kind of get hiring the Bush daughter because like presumably that gets you access of some kind, but Abby Huntsman.
Huntsman's a weird one.
We got to know what's we got to have access to John Huntsman.
We're losing the John Huntsman primary. Thing is though, I was never one of the people who like hated Chelsea Clinton until like the Ilhan Omar thing. Really, I was just like, yeah, she's just a completely fucking dull. She's the woman version of Luke Wilson in Idiocracy. Basically, that's what I thought. Until all this, I was just like, yeah, it's fine. Like. I was like, she's so much better than Meghan McCain, and it's like, no, they're just both equally fucking shit. But Meghan's like a more openly malicious and
sanctimonious and toddlerish.
Well, Meghan's more of a caricature that you can relate to. Like you can see that person, screaming at a returns department at a department store.
About her dad.
Chelsea's like more ambiguously bad,
Yeah, the Jews are so lucky to just have both of them with the combined power to write a single entire children's book without a ghostwriter.
Oh, that was one of the things on Chelsea's resume. Oh, she wrote 2 children's books.
Wow.
It is funny that the victim of anti-Semitism last week was Meghan McCain, and the victim of Islamophobia this week is Chelsea Clinton.
Chelsea Clinton.
Yeah, I mean, God works in unexpected, in mysterious ways.
But when the Meghan McCain the cartoon controversy was going on, and again, people were like, I think Meghan said like the reaction to like to her crying on The View was, in her words, quote, the most anti-Semitic thing I've ever seen.
No, the actual comic was.
The comic itself was.
Yeah, and I joke, she was in a coma during Charlottesville and Pittsburgh.
Yes, you didn't notice those. Yeah, she didn't notice that. Yeah, she said your comic was the most anti-Semitic thing she's ever seen.
Yeah, a satire of Christians fetishizing Jews.
Here's the thing: like, what in the imagery or content of the comic was anti-Semitic?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like you drew her, and let's be honest. I think in a way the way you portray most people Like Trump, you just is like this pulsating blob of flesh with like teeth in it.
Right.
It's like very sort of like some sort of like tumor come to life.
Yeah.
Meghan McCain, you pretty much drew her as Meghan McCain. It wasn't very exaggerated.
Yeah, I was actually conscious about fat shaming.
yeah,
I was trying not to do the fat shaming thing. So, but I actually,
but like, and then she was surrounded with like a Matisyahu CD, and like, so was that what they interpreted as anti-Semitic? That she was surrounding herself with like Jewish cultural.
Wait, let me just say, whatever I do, I could have drawn her with the Chabad Lubavitch rabbi, ascending to heaven, and they would be anti-Semitic. I think
Mosaic is here, but it's Megan.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think they would have called it regardless. But I think the Judah, the German Star of David, forced upon Jews in Germany during the preceding and during the Holocaust, and throughout Europe, I think maybe they did some twisted, reaction to that. It's really hard to analyze. It's clearly a very, very intrinsically Jewish, in my view, piece of art, which has intratextual Jewish playfulness regarding like the Matisyahu shit and stuff like that, and it's making fun of Christian Zionist anti-Semitism via the Jewish Race Explained book, and that kind, and what she's actually saying. But because they have already adopted Christian Zionists into the Jewish fold, any criticism of that has to be anti-Semitic.
Now, again, it was the exact same ideology, that led that guy into Pittsburgh and led this person into those mosques in New Zealand. But like for people on the Jewish right, like Ben Shapiro, it's obviously a lot more difficult. It's a lot harder for them. I noticed like right after the Christchurch massacre happened, Ben Shapiro was like, don't share the video.
Yeah.
Don't say his name. And
Don't say my name.
Which is classic.
Don't say my name. Yeah. Don't search his browser history. Don't see what he like. The guy who shot up that mosque in Quebec was a huge fan of Ben Shapiro.
Like to start
and it's
off,
hold on. I agree with like don't share the video or say his name, and I don't think anyone should spend any amount of time like trying to understand his manifesto or like parse it or find any kind of meaning there. It's fascist insanity. It's not meant to be consistent or have any kind of coherent. It's an ideology of death. That's all you need to understand it. And we know who's stoking it. It's an ideology of violence towards immigrants, towards Jews, towards Muslims. Like that is what's going on here. But for someone like Ben Shapiro to then just be like, in fact, actually don't tell us anything at all about the shooter whatsoever. And let's just assume that like just bad things happen,
Yeah.
And they're having a hard time towing that line, but they're going to do it. And of course, no one's going to call them on this bullshit.
Yeah,
because like Ben Shapiro or like any of these YouTube guys, like these the Logic Brigade have been saying for years now in books and tweets and videos or whatever that Islam and Muslim immigrants represent an existential threat to your life, your identity, and your safety and Western civilization. And it was interesting. Louis Gohmert, he had one of the most bizarre and terrifying reactions to this, where he was like, wow, it was basically like sickening what happened in Christchurch.
Do it in the courts.
Yeah, he's like violence is never the answer. There are legislatures and like laws. If you want to get rid of undesirables, do it through the proper channels.
Disenfranchise them step by step. Don't shoot them.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's insane.
But like for a guy like Shapiro to again play, see no evil, hear no evil about this bullshit is pretty rich.
Yeah. And also, you're talking about like the anti-Semitic accusations, etc. I think it's partly that, and if you try and see through their eyes, they see the future of Jewish life around the world in Israel, and so to them, especially, Ben Shapiro himself has said that I am a Gino. That it's this fucking word, Jews in name only. That everyone who voted for Obama is a Gino, is not really a Jew.
That's 80% of Jews
exactly.
in America.
It's 80%. Yeah. And so I think he's already written us off, and he doesn't. It just doesn't really enter his radar the safety and security of Jews outside of Israel, and that's why he can sleep, I suppose, at night while implicitly, tacitly allying with the forces seeking the destruction of the Jews.
Shapiro has just explicitly said like, bad Jews are destroying Westerns. Like, he found a way to do the Zionist version of the,
Zog government,
Judeo-Bolshevik shit. Yeah.
And then of course, other people like, I saw Dave Rubin was like, he's like, not even going to tweet today, just thoughts and prayers or whatever. And it's just like, why not, Dave?
Yeah.
Why don't you tweet out that fucking interview you did with Stefan Molyneux on your fucking your asshole YouTube channel for fucking babies? Like, I mean, these people are, again, like, when it is convenient for them, they will become so Jewish and talk about how unsafe they feel by when, someone criticizes Israel or waves a Palestinian flag or, supports solidarity at any level with the Palestinian cause. They will immediately tell you how Jewish they are and how afraid they personally feel as Jews. But then it's just like their ideological fellow travelers basically did nothing other than take the things that they've said and done seriously. Then they got to clam up. So, I mean, I think it should be pretty clear to everyone what's going on with regards to, the people who have spent years flirting with, the intellectual dark web, the alt-right, like the race IQ people, the fucking, let's just have a conversation about, immigration or Islam or all that bullshit. Like, they're all drinking from the same fetid sewer, basically.
Yeah, they just erase Jews from it when they're making their arguments, but the people that they're, whose philosophies they're subscribing to, add Jews to the Muslims, to the Mexicans, etc., that are bringing down this country and Western civilization in general.
I mean, again, like, it just seems like it's one after the other, not just mass shootings, but mass shootings with an explicitly, fascist, racist, ideological program and targets, like, and how they choose it. Like, I mean, again, this is hard to talk about, on a show that's supposed to be funny or whatever, but it's just like, the thing I'm tired of hearing is that, like, it's the internet is making this is the reason for this, or like it's the memes or the trolling, and I just think like that's just covering up for. I don't think like there's anything like particularly special or interesting about like the internet's relation to these kinds of terrorist acts. It's just like, I mean, that's where it's being shared, and people I guess are sort of finding purchase for this kind of ideology, but like. It's not like it created it, or it would, not be there with absent the internet if we just took everyone's Twitter account away or whatever.
No, it's like just the new medium to broadcast this kind of hateful ideology.
Every time, something inconceivably awful happens that we see front and center more than pretty much anyone in human history could see it, there's like an immediate, I don't think bad impulse to want to do something. So it just turns into this like referendum on the closest thing in front of us. So it's like, it's the internet because, it's true. The internet makes it easier to disseminate like hate and conspiratorial thinking, and can make it easier to like buy guns and talk yourself into it. But let's not act like that didn't happen before, or it's a billion other like value neutral things. It's irony, or it's internet forums, or it's video, just the concept of videos on the internet. And you go through the same cycle every time where you see like some very navel gazy thread from everyone who ever posted on a forum talk about how, this is I saw fascism firsthand when I posted about Long Cat in 2006. And it's tiring, but I don't hate anyone for that, or like we've got to fix the algorithm. That's the only problem. It's a very normal impulse, but it's short-sighted. I agree.
I mean, or fix the algorithm, or like, just quarantine all of them on Gab. Like, fine, I don't care about that. But the point is, like, even before social media was a big thing, way back in, let's say, 2001, the U.S. government since then has been dedicated to, killing Muslims en masse throughout the world. And like, Islam has been, like, the enemy for quite some time now. And, I'm sorry, even the good president, Obama, spent a lot of his time in office fucking killing a shitload of innocent Muslims. In the name of our, safety and security.
What do you think has like a bigger effect on the culture? Like, is it like 4chan, or is it like you make a $1 million movie like American Sniper about how cool this guy was, because he could just fucking one tap all the Muslims.
Yeah, or spending an entire week prior to the atrocity, finding out, Congress trying to figure out a way to ostracize and humiliate Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
But when Trump is actually signal boosting white supremacists throughout the world.
And I don't blame anyone for not looking at that shit first, because it's incredibly less appealing. That's such a harder problem to fix than YouTube. Absolutely. But yeah, it is. You do immediately want to go after the thing that you think is right in front of your face. But sometimes it's the thing under your nose.
Thanks for these are the hard episodes to do, because everyone's thinking about this horrible thing that can happen, but it's just sort of, I don't know if there's anything new to say. It's
there really isn't.
Which is what makes it so terrible, other than our expressions of grief and solidarity along with America and New Zealand's Muslim community. And just, I can't help but be inspired by all the people who showed up to, services over the weekend and will continue to do so, knowing full well that there's probably another person out there fantasizing about making them, their next live stream, I will say it was nice to see New Zealand just be like, yeah, we're getting rid of guns. And that was it. And they did it.
Yeah.
Not going to happen in this country, but it's good to know that someone somewhere can just be like, yep, we're banning semi-automatic weapons. And they're like, yep, that's it. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's it's not worth it if shit like this can happen otherwise.
What are you going to do if you don't have a semi-automatic weapon and you're confronted by a kakapo in the wild?
There are a lot of scary animals, in that part of the world. Yeah. More so in Australia, though. A lot of poisonous things over there.
Yeah.
Didn't they already deal
And
with
venomous.
guns there in Australia? I forget. What's the Australian?
The Port Arthur massacre.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
they did
Yeah.
a massive gun buyback after that. And what do you know it? There hasn't been another mass shooting there, and their suicide rate dropped by a third or something insane like that.
Think how easy it is to just commit suicide by nature out there. That's it.
Yeah,
Instead of reaching for a cop service weapon, you just reach into a kangaroo's pouch.
That's how you kill yourself in Australia. Well, I'm just going to walk in one direction for a while.